Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of Chiefs Focus First and 10. You are here on a beautiful Sunday night after a nice win against the Donkeys. We are here with Caleb. You are here with Charles, our resident writer, the guru. How's it going, guys? Hey, guys.
Good, man. How are you doing?
Good, man. How's it going, Charles?
Not too bad. Always a little better after a win. So,
yeah, nice to see us beat a division rival, and again for that's since 2015.
That's 12 in a row.
Yeah, so. That's in a long time. I was in high school still, and they've been beating them consistently for a while now. So it's been pretty nice.
We just filled up the egg carton with consecutive wins against Denver. So that's
basically,
basically, that's really nice. So, it wasn't the greatest offensive performance, but I know Caleb has a few things to say, so I will let you get it out of the way, and then I'll do some explaining and from what my Arrowhead guys have told me tonight since we've had our discussion prior to the show, and then we'll go on from there. Go ahead, Caleb, and then we'll let chime in, and then we'll get our discussions out of the way.
All right. Well, typically what ends up happening is everyone knows at the beginning of the show I give my take. The defense is phenomenal. They're turned to a top 10 defense, but the concern I've seen week to week to week is the offense. I don't know what Andy is doing. I don't know if he's like being still call the plays, but the offense is not hitting home run plays. It looks like they are only playing 2 or 3 good drives per game, and then the rest of them they're just kind of doing vanilla-like offense. It frustrates me because you have Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Demarcus Robinson. You have all these different guys that can get into the game and do different things, and it's just very frustrating to see when they continue to just not push through what they're supposed to. And it's just frustrating because you're like, this offense went 50-5 at one point, just doing spectacular things, and now they're struggling on many different levels, and it's hard to see because you're like, they're supposed to do many different things, and at this point it's kind of like, how are we supposed to win a playoff game if you guys can't score continuously?
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I think the biggest thing that I've seen, and it's kind of evolved throughout the course of this year, is you go back to last offseason after the Super Bowl, we go and we rebuild the offensive line to an extent. And that's, through free agency up front and then through the draft with Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. And it's almost like we wanted this new offensive line to be something that it's not. And we're having trouble kind of, shortening that curve and figuring it out. Like, we wanted to make this, Mahomes specific pass first offensive line, when in all reality, we're kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing, where our true identity up front is to smash people in the mouth and run the football. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the opening drive tonight and a few times throughout the night, we, first 2 or 3 plays, we would commit to running the football and we'd move it. Like 3, 4, 5 yards at a time, you pick up a first down, and then all of a sudden our play calling philosophy switches, where we go from a run heavy offense to we get in these bunch formations. And I mean, we've done it obviously in years in the past, but this year, when we get our offense rolling from a run perspective, we get in these bunch formations and try to take stuff underneath. Well, what we've done is just shot ourselves in the foot at that point, because we've literally created a box that's stuffed to stop the run. And then we go and try to get something in the middle of the field where there are 8 defenders. So to me, I think there's a lot of personnel things that are going on right now, as far as, the first 4 drives, we had 6 drop passes. Yep. Pringle had 2, Tyreek had 2, one that ended up in an interception. It's tough to get any kind of momentum going with that. At the same time, a little bit of variety from the offensive coordinator might be nice. And just, it's easy to say from a desk chair, I'm not on the field calling the game, not even nearly qualified to do that. But, to me, it seems schematically, if you get that defense inside the box, what you want to do is spread the ball out to the boundaries and then over the top, not try to come back over the middle. So I just kind of noticed some of those things. right off the cuff with kind of why our offense was sputtering tonight.
Well, it was kind of weird to me. Every single team we played up until this week had played a 2 high safety set. Every single team. Tonight they didn't, and we didn't take advantage of it, which was very strange to me. Tonight, when I noticed that after, I don't know, maybe the third series, we didn't really go deep at any point, and we had a lot of opportunities to do that because there was a couple guys that were wide open, but again, they didn't have any real plays designed to go deep. They had Josh out there a couple of times, which was nice to see him out on the field, running more of a decoy position than anything else. But again, the weather played a factor with the wind. I mean, you had at one second you had no wind, then you had 20, then you had 30-mile-an-hour gusts. It was swirling inside the stadium. I did get a couple of texts during the game, and I had texted and asked what the hell was going on. And because I was getting DM after DM, and then people texting me what the hell's going on. And a lot of it was Andy called every play tonight, just so you guys know.
Interesting.
He called every play, and he had a little bit of trust from what I heard. He had a little bit of trust issues with not so much of the wide receivers. He did have some trust issues with the wide receivers catching the ball, but it was because of the wind, because of the weather, because of the way things were, the shift change within the wind. And he knew that it was going to be a little more difficult for those guys to, for Mahomes to get the ball down the field and those guys to adjust as they normally can. This year has been an off year for Mahomes and company as far as the deep passes downfield. I mean, they were first and second from 18 through 20 in deep balls down the field. And this year, I think they're 12th or 13th, somewhere around there. So it's been a little different. It's been a change. And I know that was played a big factor in Andy's decisioning to run the ball more, a little more short passing, try not to force the ball down the field, and beat them with more of a vanilla offense and rely on our defense the way he did. I'm glad he did it the way he did it. When you play a divisional rival, it's always a tougher game. Our defense, hey, and by the way, I just want to throw this out there. Did you guys see who was out on the field in defense tonight?
DeAndre Baker.
He's out of the doghouse. Now, let's put it this way. He's out of the doghouse because somebody else was hurt, but regardless, he's out of the doghouse.
I was going to say.
Yeah, he's out of the doghouse, and he played very well. That proved to me that regardless of who we have on the field in the cornerback position, they're going to thrive. They're going to do well. We have one of the best cornerback rooms in the league. There is no doubt in my mind. We really do. Remember when we talked last week, Caleb, about our defense going to be top 10 by the end of the season?
Yeah.
Right now, points allowed, we're top 10.
Yeah, and if you're looking at it, we have a bunch of beasts up front. Charles just wrote about him in his articles extensively. But when you go to the cornerback group, you have Fenton, Baker,
Ward,
Hughes, Ward, Sneed. Yeah. And when you really look at it, Sneed, technically, if you would have redraft, is a first-round pick, but Baker's a first-round pick. Josh Jackson, who's on practice squad, who used to play for the Packers, a first-round pick. Mike Hughes is a first-round pick. So at the end of the day, Veach will find his guys. And that's important because when you have a cornerback group like that, you're not going to allow many over-the-top passes. And that's one thing we've seen with the defense this time around. It's been very important just to see that come to fruition.
And it's so comical when you think about it because we've talked about it all season, Charles. And I don't know, how many shows you've listened to, but we talked about it all season that, Spags' defenses always tend to come on around week 7, week 8, and they really start to really kick ass around that time. And tonight, as much as I can't stand to listen to Collinsworth talk, he he just rambles, man. I mean, him and Joe Buck ought to just have a coffee every day and just ramble together. But I mean, I swear, they talk in circles. They're the two people that could talk for 30 straight minutes and absolutely nothing would come out of the conversation. But he even said it tonight. He said, Spagnuolo's defenses always come on around week 7 or week 8. And they do. And it's a lot of it is because of the packages that he throws at these defensive players. He's a lot like Andy Reid. When you have a coordinator that dreams about packages and then the next day or at 4:00 in the morning calls up a player and says, hey, by the way, I just texted you a play or a package. I want you to learn it. And then we're going to practice it at 5:30. Starting at 5:30, let's make sure you get ready for that. We're going to use that Sunday. It's difficult. This is not something that's easy for these guys to get used to. And then if you guys get, if we like it, we're going to use it the rest of the season. If I like it, we're going to use it the rest of the season. So these guys got to get acclimated to this kind of stuff. And that's something that he's always done. Collinsworth said it himself. This has been his MO since he's been a defensive coordinator. I'm not going to fault the guy for it. Right now, we're top 10 in points allowed. We have allowed 30 points in the last 3 weeks. 30 points. Actually,
pretty good, especially what we've seen. Charles, would you say, just kind of looking at Chiefs teams overall, do you think like this is probably one of the best defenses we have ever seen?
It's definitely, definitely the best defense I think we've seen since, go back to the Justin Houston, Eric Berry, Derek Johnson era. Was it 2014, I think? Like, our defense and special teams would have been like the 21st scoring offense in the NFL. That's how good we were with like takeaways and pick sixes and scoring on special teams. So, it's a pretty dynamic unit. And, I was guilty of this at the beginning of the season and said, like, our defense is trash, all this. Well, they weren't playing well, but look at who we were missing. And now these guys are getting healthy. Chris Jones, Frank Clark. Tyrann Mathieu was out with, was questionable with COVID to start the season and getting his conditioning back there. It's a long season. I think it's hilarious to look at it from – there's two ways to look at a football season. You can look at it from like the power rankings, like tunnel vision type week-to-week view, or you can look at it from an overall broader perspective. And it's just kind of funny to look back on what I was saying in week 3, 4, 5, 6, what other people were saying, as opposed to now. The defense looks like a juggernaut.
Were you saying Sorensen needs to be benched or cut?
I said some pretty harsh things about number 49 and number 56. Definitely guilty as charged. But yeah, I sent you guys a DM on Twitter. Sorensen and Neiman looked like LeBron and D Wade on that pick 6.
Seriously,
Neiman got the tip.
Yep. I think it's interesting though, Charles. Like you bring up a great point. I was vocal. I'm be honest with you. I was vocal that Dirty Dan and Neiman should be benched. But this is what I said. I cannot get mad at them. I can only get mad at Spags because he's continuing to allow it to happen. See, when I look at this from the standpoint, is Sorensen is not a starter. He's a guy you can come on certain possessions or key plays. Same with Neiman. They're good on third downs. They can get to the quarterback. But just to have him 60, 70 snaps a game for the defense, if it gets ramped up, they struggle. I don't know what it is, but they struggle. But when you have him in there, they get that home run play, and Sorensen's running, and he's doing that crazy football dance.
It's all worth it, yeah.
Yeah. He, like the man can't see, so he's going to be dancing in the club tonight.
Well, it's funny, man, because it's all about positioning, too. We've talked about this, and he's not great when you put him in man coverage, down in the red zone and expect him to really stop a touchdown from happening, because it's not going to happen. He got burned a lot, but that if you look at where that interception happened, where was he at on the field?
He was in that linebacker spot kind